with AI search taking over a lot of SEO right now, and also just kind of taking over a lot of the online marketing space, changing how people visit websites, one of the things that's changing within that is how we measure our SEO, how we measure our online marketing, how we measure our website performance. And we are getting a lot of questions from clients about whether or not they need to use certain metrics, whether or not traffic still matters as a metric, whether or not engagement rates on the site still matter as a metric, whether there's new metrics to use for AI search, and really what should they be thinking about with measuring all of this and how that works. Is something changing? Should we just keep using the same metrics or something new? So Andrea, I'll pass it over to you to start us off here. We've been obviously talking a lot about this with clients. Um, yeah, like how are metrics changing, and how should we be changing our thinking around metrics?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think even before we get into the specifics of metrics and that kind of stuff, fundamentally, one of the most important things for every business is to define what success looks like for them in terms of their site's performance, their online presence, all their marketing channels for that matter, of what is success. For some people, that could still be traffic volume because that is a determination of visibility or um, something that really is important for driving awareness of their brand overall. For others, that could be the time on page, or it could be conversions. It's a purchase, or it's an email sign up, or whatever that is. But I think fundamentally, what still remains really important in core is that each business gets to make their own decision about what success looks like for them when measuring their website's performance.
Yeah, every business is unique. And that's what we keep coming back to. At this point, after 10 years of working on Elementive and working with hundreds of clients at this point, we have yet to come across two clients who are exactly the same. There's similarities. There's things that, yeah, that, they kind of overlap a little bit here and there, but every business is truly unique. Every website is truly unique. And what's going to matter, that's going to change. And so when you think about metrics that are available to measure each step of the funnel, and each, step of the customer's journey, yeah, you have lots of metrics that you can use any step of the way that you can pick and choose from. And the way that you need to pick and choose those metrics, it's going to be very specific to your business. What are your goals? What are your objectives? What are you trying to accomplish with your website? And you have to kind of look at this whole menu of metrics that are available and pick and choose. Okay, this one really matters for me, or this one doesn't really matter for me. And one business's key metric, their core metric that they care the most about, is going to be something that's completely irrelevant to another business, even if those two businesses are kind of the same type of business or in the same industry. It's just really important to remember that there is no universal answer here with what matters.
Yeah, and I think there's also not one answer. It
Yeah.
could be that traffic still really matters. And then in addition to that traffic is the conversion of completing a form or making a purchase or whatever that is. And that there are multiple metrics that may really support the business's goals and objectives. And it's important to define those. And then once you've defined them, figure out, okay, now how am I going to measure this? There's a lot of debate and kind of conversation around how do we make sure that the data we're seeing in our analytics tools is actual people and users versus new bots or AI agents or something else that's coming in and being tracked. How do we make sure it's not spam? And so we also need to figure out too, how are we going to measure that? How are we going to adjust some of our filters or settings to make sure that we're really getting as close as we can to understanding real users, real people coming to the site, and what are they doing once they get there?
Yeah, you have to qualify the traffic. I mean, we've seen a lot of companies that they just look at the top line number in GA4. Admittedly, we've done this too, where we just, it's simple, because GA4 makes it really obvious. If you got this many page views or whatever, okay, you have to drill into that. It's like, well, which pages are they? We, looked at lots of sites where, oh, you got tons and tons and tons of views, but then you look at it and it's like, well, it's to pages that don't really matter, weren't really relevant to your core business. So you filter those out. And like you said, you filter out spam traffic or traffic that's not in your target region. If you're only targeting customers in Canada, then traffic from anywhere besides Canada is probably not relevant to look at. So you have to qualify that traffic a little bit. You can't just take a simple, top line number and just assume that's going to be good enough. You have to qualify that in order to make that number more meaningful and actually utilize that number then.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And so we all use analytics of a variety of types. I mean, it's GA4 or Adobe Analytics or whatever. And that has become a primary source where we get some of that information. But now, as things are expanding, we're also having to rely on other tools to get a better view into what is happening on our site, because not everything may come into those analytics tools, or we might not get enough information to really understand what's happening. So that's where we've started to dive into things like log files to be able to understand activity that's happening on the site in a different way that we just can't get in analytics yet.
Hmm. And that is what's really cool to me about AI search and with different AI engines is that there's a whole new type of behavior that we've just never seen before. This is the whole agentic side of AI, where there are now bots that interact with a website on behalf of a person. So it's not people coming to the site directly. It's not bots coming to the site directly. It's bots via users coming to the site, which is a whole new way to kind of think about things and a whole new way to measure things. GA4 is not ready to measure those things. Log files are the only source that we currently have. I would suspect that we're going to probably see new tools grow and come on the scene that help measure this. Those might be provided by OpenAI or other companies or something else. But yeah, I mean, there's that just right away changes the metrics. Like there's a whole new thing that has never been a behavior that we've even had possible before that now is something that we have to start measuring and thinking about. So it's not only new tools, not only new metrics, but just kind of even new concepts to think about.
Yeah, and it's now also trying to figure out, okay, how do we incorporate this into our reporting on a
Yeah.
monthly, quarterly, and annual basis? How are we going to gather all of this data, and what really is the most important for being able to demonstrate the success that we're looking for on the site with this variety of information that we have available now, which, like you said, is really exciting, and it really opens up new opportunity to demonstrate the impact of your online marketing efforts, as well as a lot of the other marketing efforts that are happening that boost and support your brand overall.
Right. Yeah. And it's really kind of explaining that entire customer journey. And we've kind of typically used, the traditional marketing funnel, you build awareness, then interest, and forget what the other ones are, desire, that traditional funnel that you move through. And that funnel is changing, I think now, and it's changing in two ways. I mean, it's changing with there's just new behaviors that we never incorporated into the funnel before. So there's new levels to the funnel. But it may also no longer really be a funnel where it's kind of driving down to a single conversion point or a single action point. There may be other ways that this works. So as we think about what metrics to use and how we need to measure things, it's also taking a step back and looking at all these metrics to try and understand what are your customers actually doing right now? How are they actually engaging with your site right now? And not just your site, but your business as a whole. Like, what are they actually doing? AI tools are going to be a part of that. Search engines are going to be a part of that. Lots of other things are going to be a part of that. And so how do you kind of understand all those pieces and parts of this And as you're using metrics, how do you use those metrics to tell the entirety of this story?
Yeah, that's a really good point. So it's kind of this twofold thing right now of understanding one, all of this new stuff that is available and that you can use to analyze and understand how people or people via agents are interacting with your site, what content they're interested in, while at the same time making sure that you're defining those metrics internally for success and then
Mhm.
using that data together to understand where your opportunity is and also what you should be reporting on, because it is changing and it feels like we need to do some analysis to understand how is it changing, as well as understanding then what are the most important metrics that my organization defines as success.
Well, and the other piece to it too is educating,
Oh,
other people throughout the company about how this is changing,
yeah.
because this is a lot different now than it has been in the past. And so in the past, I think over the last, couple of decades, we've all gotten used to looking at SEO reports of here's how many impressions I had, here's how many clicks there were, and then of those clicks, here's how many people ended up converting, right? We can kind of tell that. And I think, a lot of people in marketing more generally, not in SEO, company executives, they understand that.
Mhm.
Um, that's also very analogous to other types of marketing channels where it's, we reached this many people, we got this much traffic, here's what happened. This is different now. So we have to start educating, the broader teams, the broader executives who are involved about this to make sure they understand, okay, we have new things that we have to look at. Now, does that mean that the old metrics of traffic and impressions are no longer relevant or no longer meaningful? No, it just means that they're different now, but we have to start explaining that. And that's something we've been working hard to do with clients, is helping to make sure that it's, they understand why this is changing.
Mhm.
Because I think for some companies and some of the things we've seen is that some of it feels like it's almost coming from a place of trying to make an excuse for traffic being down. And that's not, the way we want to think about this. Like, yes, traffic is down, but that's something separate.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it is important then to provide that education, get everybody kind of on the same playing field in terms of what's available to us and how are we looking at it, and who's responsible for reporting on it. I think that that's another piece that for some that's the SEO team, for others that might be IT, or maybe there's a whole new AI branch within organizations that are kind of responsible for that strategy. But how does everybody work together to kind of level set on what we're measuring and how is it measured? And again, I think it goes back to where we started. Each organization's definition of those metrics and those success metrics for their site's performance are going to be unique, and they're going to be different, and you have to have those conversations together to help establish them.
For sure. Well, if you need help looking at metrics for your company, figuring these types of things out, figuring out what those success metrics are for your business, for your website, how you need to change things right now, definitely reach out to us. This is the kind of stuff we're helping clients with. You can email Andrea with any questions at andrea@elementive.com. You can email me at matthew@elementive.com. We're both always happy to help however we can. Any of that. If you liked this video, like to see more like it from us, please subscribe to our channel. Thanks so much for watching.